Hey there, I'm Thea Dudley, also known as the Credit Overlord, and welcome to LBM Talks Credit. We are the only podcast that talks trade credit in the lumber and building material space. Never miss an episode, stay tuned, and we're glad you're here. Welcome back to another episode of LBM Talks Credit. This is the place to come for news, tips, and techniques, practical trade credit advice in the LBM and construction space. Thea Dudley here, also known as the Credit Overlord, and I am your host as we jump into today's subject, 5 reasons your cash flow sucks and how to change it. And this goes for every link in the LBM chain: manufacturers, distributors, that's both 1 and 2 step, contractors, specialty and sub. Lack of cash flow is one of the biggest reasons businesses fail. Well, that alongside poor management and partnerships. I think 1 in 500 partnerships actually succeed. I have only known one partnership that has done it well and successfully. Let's make sure we're all on the same page about cash flow. So to clarify, there's cash and there's cash flow. Cash is what you have sitting in the bank. Cash flow is how the money is coming in and out of the company. So money coming in is collecting, money going out is you spending or paying bills. If it's coming in and going out about the same rate, then you're probably okay. But you have more money going out than coming in, you're not okay. If you're scrambling to decide what you're paying, you're not okay. I get to have these conversations a lot at companies. And I've been doing it for about 20 years in those back offices, mostly because I wanted to get my company paid. And you truly do want to help your customers grow. So when you're having these conversations with your customers, maybe a little kinder than the one we're having here today, but you're teaching them how to run their business. They got to be humble enough to want your help, but it's all in your presentation. What I usually hear is, but Thea, I'm making profit. I have assets. I have accounts receivable. Those are accounting concepts. Some buzzwords, those don't pay bills. The job may be profitable on paper, but how do you know unless you're really running the numbers? And you may have accounts receivable and you may be waiting to collect them, but neither of those things are actually cash flow. You can't pay bills with them in their current state. I can just see that conversation. Hey, Thea, this is earmarked for you. You get to have all of this. As soon as I get it collected, that's yours. That's your baby all the way. Yeah. But before we dive in, none of this is relevant if a customer or you or a customer can't admit that they have a problem. So one of the questions I always ask is if you're delaying your company, filing your company taxes, late with all your suppliers, juggling who gets paid this month, struggling to make payroll, honey, your cash flow sucks. Just admit it. Making ends meet should not be part of your daily business plan. Now, the reasons we're going to go over are relevant whether you are a 2-person company or 500. It's all the same. It's just different scales. So let's dive into 5 reasons your cash flow sucks and how to change it. Reason number 1, not treating the entire order to cash process as an entire company focus. Everyone in your company should be aware of how you go to market, from sales to your back office. Everyone should know your processes, how you get paid. It's not enough to sell it. You got to get the money in the door. Related to their paycheck and the light bulb goes off. Hey, is your billing correct? Would you pay these things at home? If somebody sent you inaccurate billing, if they were late with it, if they were like, well, if my mortgage company let me slide for 3 months, I would be sliding like it was my job. Is your billing correct? Was it on time? Did you follow up on the job or the order? Did you eliminate any issues or potential issues? And by potential issues, I mean eliminating the reasons that someone has to not pay you. Don't give people reasons not to pay you. Did sales clearly communicate what was expected and how payment is handled? The sooner you get the money in the door, the sooner we can start this whole process over. So the number 1 way to fix this, educate and train everyone in your company on how your billing and collections work and what to expect. When everybody understands clearly, that money turns over much quicker. Number 2, not having a credit and collections policy. This is a common mistake in small to mid-sized companies, and a lot of times in some of your customers in their construction firms. They start out small, and as they grow, they don't take the time to document it. Huge mistake leads to confusion. When you put an account on hold, when you file a lien, when you preserve lien rights, use of joint checks, when is it outsourced to collections? When do we even start collecting? Does your sales team and accounting team know what to expect on the past due accounts? If you don't clearly define it, people don't understand it, and then it's always a surprise to them. You want everybody rowing that boat in the same direction. So how to fix it? Write down a quick and dirty set of guidelines. It doesn't have to be a thesis. It doesn't have to be this giant 500-page book. Just cover the basics, keep the money flowing, adjust it, refine it as you go. You'd be surprised. It's a lot easier, and you probably have policies that you don't even know that were actual policies. You just didn't document them. But I guarantee you, you have the basis already there. You just have to jot it down. Number 3, not staying on top of your receivables. In other words, when is it past due? Is that 1 day, 7 days, 10 days, 30 days? Or do you just call when you have a cash flow issue? It's like, oh, I'm out of money. Who's past due? We're going to call them. And what I hear mostly from customers is, look, I don't want to call people. I don't want to look like I need the money. Well, I don't want to offend them. I've worked for a lot of big companies, and I never had a problem calling and asking for money. That's how we pay our bills. That's how we cash flow. And put that shoe on the other foot. If you committed to, I don't know, putting a roof on a house or putting up the trusses or whatever it is, whatever specifics, would it be okay with them if you're like, hey, we're just going to deliver like a shingle at a time and we'll see how that goes? How would that work out? Train your customers how to treat you. Don't be afraid to call. And you're not begging. This is your money. Follow up on the commitments. If you tell me Thursday you mail me a check and I don't have it by Tuesday, you're getting a call. We had a deal. The way I explain it to contractors is you've already had to pay for labor. And now I'm asking you for material. I'm going to teach you how to have those conversations with your customers. That's where getting in front of your customer really comes in handy. As a dealer, I delivered stuff to you. You've heard me say this before. We had a deal. Pony up. And if you're not collecting before your bills are due, you had to lay that out as well. So quick fix for that. Call early and call often. Make it not okay to not pay you. Offer options. Snail mail is so antiquated and just pitfalls all over the place. Credit cards, ACH, check by phone, your payment portal, send a link. There's so many good options. If you don't have a lockbox with your bank, if that's the next step that you can do, that you can't commit to a portal and you just can't bring yourself, consider one. Checks are in your account a little bit faster. It's not ideal, but it's better than just mail. Not protecting your accounts receivables. Not checking out your customers prior to agreeing to send out material or do work. Not utilizing mechanics liens and bond laws to your advantage, or levering joint checks, or reading contracts and really working those and crossing stuff out. Those are all things that are going to work against you. You have to be on top of that. Be proactive. If you're going to sell to somebody, check them out. You can't walk into any store and take something out without either paying for it or being approved for credit. This is not a new concept. Check out who you're doing business with and keep checking up on them. Things change. So how to fix this? Start utilizing your options early. Look at how to protect each sale. You have to ask yourself, if this deal went south, what do I have to collect it? Is it going to put me out of business? It'll make it a hell of a lot easier to implement prelims and joint checks and credit application processing and count review processes and checking items off of contracts if you put it in those terms. Are any of these things going to put me out of business? There's your answer. Number 5, poor billing practices. Not getting your billing done the exact same day or the very next day is another way to hijack your cash flow. If you're invoicing late, a week, couple weeks, miss a deadline for submittals when you're giving customers additional time to pay you, you give customers time to find fault with you. Hey, if it's not important to you to get my billing correct and to me on time, it is not important to me to pay you on time. You're giving your customers reasons and a ton of additional time to pay you. Because if you don't, you may put, yeah, I know that this should have been billed on the 1st, but I billed it on the 15th, but I marked it the 1st. So when they get it, that's not how life works. When I get that, I'm going to stamp it, or it's going to come into my system through the flow, and it's going to be marked that day. I don't care what date you put on it. I'm taking 30 days. You're going to hijack your cash flow that way. Why should I worry about you getting paid on time? Besides, if you're this bad about getting your invoices done, you probably aren't going to notice when I pay you really, really late, because you don't appear to be paying attention to many details over there. So I think I'm pretty golden. How to fix this? Invoice daily. Send statements on a monthly basis. Utilize those as just another methodology for getting your bill in front of people. Email invoices and statements. Saves both time and money. And nobody wants to be that guy licking an envelope. It's really boring. And snail mail, again, not the best way to get stuff there. Now a little bonus tip. Not growing your back office at the rate you're growing your sales. Right people in the right role. You can continue to get sale after sale after sale, but if you don't have back office people to help push that through, people who are billing on time, who are watching your AR, who are reading the contracts, who are collecting your money, you're going to be underwater on that. So how to fix it? Get a credit professional to collect your money. Have professional back office people. Bookkeeper, accountant for accounting and invoicing. It's not that I don't appreciate bookkeepers, but there's a difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant. Know what you need for your business. And just because your spouse, your kid, your friend's kid needed a job doesn't mean they're going to be a good fit for whatever role you have, whether it's invoicing, whether it's collecting money, whether it's doing your books. These are big things you should be spending a little bit of time to qualify somebody and hire the right people. Just because they were an office manager doesn't necessarily mean they'll have the skills your business needs to be able to professionally collect, to be an accountant. Back office is your cash flow. Who's billing? Who's tracking? Who's collecting? How is all that happening? Start treating your collections like it is important. Stop treating it like it's an afterthought. You will find your cash flow flows a lot faster. This wraps up another episode of LBM Talks Credit. Thanks for joining me, Thea Dudley, your host, as we discuss practical advice, insights, challenges in trade credit for LBMers. Be sure to never miss an episode with us. We are on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and we come out every other Tuesday. I'm glad you joined us. See you next time. And until then, keep watching your cash flow.